Hey everybody, Jeffrey Gignac here. Sam, I see Sam. Hi Sam, how you doing? We're just getting started here. So as usual, we'll give a few moments for people to come into the room and say hello. Suzanne, hi from Ireland. How's the weather in Ireland? I hope it's good. Hi Vicky. So we got 55 people coming in so far. We got about almost 900 people in total registered for this webinar. I mean, of course, not everybody ever shows up. A lot of people, choose to look at the replay. But I'm so happy to see all of you joining me here today. I'm really excited, really, really excited. Matter of fact, I was talking to Lisa, who you'll get to hear her voice today, I think, for a little bit. Because we're going to do some really unique things. And I was telling Lisa before we got started, I said, what's that funny feeling in the pit of my gut? I think that's nervousness. And how you doing, Bill? And I tell you why I'm a little bit nervous is that this is the first webinar that we're doing where, we're going to do a group session. I've done tons of group sessions, but usually it's live, right? In the sense that I'm in the room and I get to look at people and I get to guide them. But we're going to do a group session. And I'm also going to invite a couple people to, we're going to do our best to allow people to talk as well. We're not going to let everybody. We're going to release a couple people. And I'm going to see if I can help people drill down and get started with some of the things that are really important with the 10-minute turnaround process. And today, of course, we're focusing on growing prosperity. So we've never done those things before. So that's why I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know. I assume it's going to work. We tested it, right? But the last time I had those little butterflies, I think I was on on Channel 7, I think, in Detroit. And then the time before that was Wake Up TV. So I could have gotten rid of the feeling using the 10-minute turnaround, but I got to tell you, it's not what it's there for. It's I kind of like that nervous feeling. It's energizing. So, all right, fantastic. Well, it is 3 minutes after, so we're going to get started. And of course, anybody that comes in, a little bit late, we'll make the replay available to you as well. So let's take a look at what we're going to be talking about today: growing prosperity. And so, here's our agenda right here. I'm going to do a little welcome thing, which I've kind of been doing. And I'm going to talk about the most disliked prosperity principles that, you must embrace in order to grow your prosperity flow. And I think you guys are going to like this, right? Because I find that, I find that there's so many things that are taught out there that either not taught right or, I think they lead to misunderstandings. They're very, very important concepts, but most people don't get them. And so as a result, a lot of people just don't like them at all. So, we're going to go through that, but these are really important. I think you're really going to like it. Then we're going to go to, we're going to talk about 10-minute turnaround version 4 examples with individuals. This is where I am going to invite, some people. We're going to choose a couple people at random for the most part. Lisa has just given me a little private note, said William's already got a request and he got his hand up. We're not going to do those just yet, William. But if you got something you want to say or type to Lisa, you can certainly do that. But when the time comes, we're going to speak to a couple individuals. This is where we're going to see if I can help you drill down on some important things to work with in regards to growing prosperity. And then we're going to do a group session, a group process. I'm really excited about this. This is going to be something fantastic. And I know that there is going to be some clearing, some healing, and some great movement here. And then I want to talk to you about the 10-minute turnaround version 4 development schedule, because we're adding 3 more. The first one is really called is Trigger Eraser, but we're adding one specifically for accelerating prosperity and abundance. We're adding a couple more in the version 4 package, right? So I'm going to talk to you about that. And then we're going to do a Q&A. Hopefully we'll have enough time to do to get to everybody's questions. I always do my best to get to everybody's questions. So, first of all, again, I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share this with you. And I want to say thank you very much for those of you that really inspired this particular webinar. I mean, this was not on my schedule to do this, but let me tell you why I did this and I put this together. Is that the last big webinar we did, again, we had close to 900 people sign up, and I asked a question. I said, what's your biggest challenge? And nearly 300 people responded. And I mean, maybe to some of you, who are not in this sort of business, that may not sound like much, but usually when you send out a survey or request, I mean, if you get 10% to give you an answer, you're doing great. I mean, this was over 30%. I think that just shows how great of a community we have too. And there was so many people that were really, really passionate about their answers. And typically what I do is, before if I do a seminar or a webinar and I do a survey, I like to read all of the responses before I actually do the webinar. But when I saw 300 of them and I saw some of the huge stories that people wrote, there was no way I was going to get through it before we did the webinar. So I did it afterwards. And I got to tell you, it was a really, really moving experience, because about 50% of the people that responded said that, their biggest challenge in some way, shape, or form had to do with money. And there was some stories there that really broke my heart. I got to be honest. There was several people that had said that they didn't know what to do, that they had lost everything in a disaster. And, I watch the news once in a while. I try not to that much, but there's been a lot of terrible things that have happened. And some of them are in our community, for goodness sakes. And they had, I'm starting to get emotional about it right now as I think about it. And it was just, after I finished reading all of them the day, I had to take the rest of the day off, and, but I went out. What I did is I went out to lunch, and I thought, how can I be of assistance here? What can I do, to help? Because the reality is I've been there, right? I mean, maybe not to the degree that some of the people that gave their stories. Some of them were pretty bad, but I've been close. I mean, I've been with. I lost my wife. It sounds like a bad country song, right? I lost my wife, my car, my cats even, right? I lost most of my friends. And, this was 17 years ago. I had nothing. I had less than nothing, making, scraping dry macaroni off a cupboard to boil in, and lucky to have a little bit of margarine to put in there and eat. I mean, I lived that way for a little while. I didn't stay there for very long. I had a lot of great teachers earlier on in life, and I learned a lot of principles that, despite of how low and how, desperate it got, those principles really helped me to, pull myself up and out. And so that's the first thing that I want to do, is share with you these types of principles, because I know they really do work. But the problem is with these principles, is that they're misunderstood, and most people will never use them because they're misunderstood. And it wasn't till myself that I really understood them that I was able to really apply them in my life and turn things around. And so this is my hope for you. And then after we go through these principles, we're going to start talking to people, and I'm going to see if I can help you guys drill down on some things that you can go off on your own and maybe use it in the group session, but also later you can go and use, the 10-minute turnaround version 4 trigger eraser to work on it further. Okay. So I'm after this, the next slide you're going to see is actually a prayer intention that I wrote for today. And I'm going to use the word God. Okay. And if you don't like the word God and it doesn't work for you, change it to whatever you want. You want to use universe, you want to use whatever, that's fine by me. But I really want to set the intention here for what I want to happen. And I would really appreciate it if you would help me set that intention. So here it is. This is what I wrote here. And this is my intention for us all here today. May God's light shine down on us, filling us with peace, surrounding with love, and letting us know that all is well in our world. Please assist us in clearing, cleansing, and maintaining our prosperity, flow, and balance now and forever. For this and all other blessings that we are going to receive today, and we are going to receive them because we're asking for them, and we got the right intentions here. For all of this, we give you thanks and gratitude. Amen. All right. Okay, so we're going to jump right into prosperity principles here. And again, these are some of the most misunderstood and disliked principles and of prosperity that I've seen, but they are absolutely essential for growing your prosperity flow. So I'm going to really help clear them up. Some of you may have even been traumatized by some of these principles, by the way. So there could be some great healing just from this right now. Let's see. Okay, so by embracing these principles and living them, you will automatically clear some of the most common blocks that clog your prosperity flow. Okay, so here's prosperity principle number one. We're really going to focus on two of them, but these two are super big. So I'm going to talk about the big misunderstanding first, right? So you guys have heard this, right? Law of attraction. I credit law of attraction for killing this principle and traumatizing people. Okay. I even heard somebody that I love and respect teach this wrong the other day. And, when I get a chance, I'm going to talk to them, but you've heard this, right? You must accept responsibility for everything that shows up in your life. Well, this is true. Okay. But it's often understood in a way that really harms people. So let's clear this up. Okay. And we can clear it up with one word. Okay. You must accept your responsibility for everything that shows up in your life. Now, see, this is a difference, right? You must accept responsibility for everything that shows up in your life, or you must accept your responsibility for everything that shows up in your life. There's a big difference. That one word corrects the entire problem, right? And this allows you to accept and embrace this principle without all the ridiculousness that is typically associated with this. Okay, so it's really important. You do not want to confuse this with the notion of taking responsibility for everything that shows up in your life. That's a different feeling, and that's wrong. You can't take responsibility for everything that shows up in your life. What if I decide to show up in your life? That's not. I don't want you taking my responsibility. Right? So the reason why this principle is almost never fully activated and accepted by people is because it's not well understood. Responsibility does not equal blame. A lot of people think about that. They go, okay, am I responsible for the terrible things that happened to me as a child? Right? That's what people tend to go to. And this is why people reject this sort of notion, but that's not what was ever intended by this. Okay, accepting responsibility is not about pointing fingers and assigning blame to yourself or to anyone else. Responsibility does not mean I attracted it. Okay, and this is where, I credit the law of attraction for killing this for so many people. Because even just the other day, I heard somebody say, you got to take responsibility for everything that shows up in your life, everything that did and will and does. And I just about lost it, right? I had to do a little 10-minute turnaround on myself after I heard that, because, it's not what the genius, it's not what the wisdom behind this really meant. Responsibility is about taking ownership of how you respond to life, emotionally, energetically, and with your actions. Okay, we're going to have a little bit of fun with words here. Let's take a look at the word responsibility. Okay, so we have the word response, and then we have the word ability. Now let's break it down. An ability to respond. To be responsible is to do the right thing or to respond appropriately to life instead of overreacting. I know I've been saying this a lot lately, folks, but this is the honest to God truth. So if any of you have been blaming yourself or have been a victim of not understanding this concept properly, right, you must immediately stop blaming yourself. You did not attract the other people's evil, other people's, stuff in the world, right? So stop blaming yourself. It does not serve you. For the people that wrote in, those people that wrote in and they said they didn't know what to do, they felt guilty because like a storm wiped their house out. You did not attract that. You stop blaming yourself. Blame is a negative thought form and it turns people into victims. And victim energy is the absolute worst energy. Okay, it is the worst energy. It will block your prosperity flow and abundance faster than virtually anything else. So when you play the blame game with somebody else, right, that's one thing, right? You're just trying to remove your own responsibility or your ability to respond appropriately. You're trying to just give yourself permission to be any way you want. But when you play the blame game with yourself, it's like punching yourself in the head. It's like taking your right hand and just punching yourself in the nose, right? It's counterproductive. So in no way, I want to be very clear here, in no way, shape, or form am I suggesting that you assume other people's responsibility. It's not. And remember what I'm talking about when I say responsibility. We're talking about a person's capacity to respond. That's it. That's what this means. This is what it means, right? Remember my word guy, clinical hypnotherapist, master practitioner, and NLP, words matter. And this is why people screw this up, because they don't understand, right? So you're not to take or assume other people's responsibility. It's not healthy for you and it's not good for them. I don't want you taking my responsibility. That's mine. That's where I get my power, right? In no way, shape, or form am I suggesting that you assume blame for natural disasters and other people's evil. That's just crazy. That is crazy, right? So if somebody taught you to do that, they were misinformed. They meant well, okay? Let me tell you, they meant the person that I just heard teach this. They mean well. They're trying to tell you that when you take responsibility, it gives you power over your life. And that's true. Okay. But you have to understand what responsibility really means. Okay. So you're not taking responsibility for natural disasters. You're not taking responsibility for people's evil, but you must take ownership of the way you respond. All right. So this is, again, we're prosperity principle number one. If you want to take control of your life and you want to unblock and maximize your prosperity flow, you must accept your responsibility. You must take ownership of your responsibility, your ability to respond. I know I'm driving this home, right? Maybe a little too much for you, but this is really important. You must acknowledge that you own your responses. You own your reactions and your overreactions. And if you're reacting and overreacting, you want to move those into appropriate responses. You must strive to respond appropriately to life more and more every day. Life response frequencies helps you do this from an energetic and frequency standpoint. This is also something, though, as a principle, you want to work on yourself as well. Okay, so here's the bonus. This is the superpower you get when you do this. And if you make this a part of your everyday life and you really understand it properly, right? Now that you understand it properly, you can make it a part of your life. When you accept your responsibility, again, your responsibility, not mine, not anybody else's, when you accept your ability to respond and you do the right thing with it, what you are doing is you're acknowledging the fact that you have a choice about how you feel about what happened. How you behave. You have a choice about how you behave in response to what happened. You have a choice about if and how you will allow this to define you, right? You have a choice about the beliefs that you will hold or create about yourself, the world, and God. You know, again, I was inspired to do this because of, and say these things to you because of what some of these people wrote to me in my survey. They were like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to start. I don't know what to think. I've lost everything, and I've lost everything too, right? Maybe not as bad as some of the people that wrote, but I mean, right? And this is what has inspired me to really reveal this to you, okay? This is your choice. Okay, by taking your responsibility, you are giving yourself the power of change, choice, and direction. I feel like I'm at church right now. Sorry, folks. Okay, let's say that again. By taking your responsibility, you are giving yourself the power of change, choice, and direction. You are putting your hand up. You are putting your hand up and you are declaring to the world that I will decide the impact of what has, is, or will show up in my life. This is what you're doing. You are declaring to the world that I will choose how or if this will define me, how it will change me, and the beliefs that I will create to support me from this point on. Okay? You want to know what prosperous and abundant people do. This is how they process the world. This is how they truly do it. Now, people teach it wrong and they mean well, but this is where being focused on words and knowing how they work is really important here. So remember this. It is not what happens to you that determines your future. It is how you respond moment to moment to what happens that determines your future. Period. I've been quoting, this is one of my best quotes right here, as of late anyway. When you respond appropriately to the life's givings and misgivings, you put yourself in the best position to influence what comes your way in the future. This is the God honest truth, folks. It is the God honest truth. Okay, so if you want to learn and do anything, if you're at rock bottom right now and you want to start to move, this is where your focus has got to be. Because what this does for you, it does give you the power of manifestation and goal achievement. Okay? If you don't take your responsibility, you give up the power of choice, change, and your life's direction. Okay? I'm going to beat this horse just a few more minutes and we'll move on. You allow the event and the people involved decide for you. People that do not take their responsibility give away all of their freedom for the right to be a victim. Okay? The only benefit, I mean, if you can even call this a benefit of being a victim or not taking your responsibility, is that you get to walk around saying, poor me. All right? Which is loaded with secondary gain that will only keep you from happiness, prosperity, and abundance. So if there's one benefit, that's it. Victim energy sucks. Literally. It'll suck the will to live. It'll suck all your prosperity and abundance flow right out of your system. Okay? So do whatever you can to get out of it. Take responsibility. Take your responsibility and nobody else's. So here's your instruction for this prosperity principle. Say things like this to yourself. Remind yourself. This is what I did. I looked around and there was crap all around me. I had no food, no anything. Every day in every way, I said to myself, I accept my responsibility for everything that shows up in my life. So what am I saying? I'm accepting the way I respond, giving me the power for change, direction, and choice. Every day in every way, I take my responsibility for my actions, my feelings, and my life's direction. Again, make sure when you say this to yourself, okay, you really understand what responsibility is. You can go through this webinar again. We'll give you, we'll give you a replay. You really need to understand in your brain what that word responsibility means. Ability to respond, and then you choose how you respond. And if you can't choose how you respond because you got triggers, then we're going to give you tools to help you fix that. That's what today is all about. All right? See, because I know things show up in my life that I go, whoa, hey, I didn't even know that trigger was there. Okay. But because I have a choice about my own response, my ability to respond, I also have the choice to do something about it. So if I feel like I can't control it, then I'm going to go to some of my technology, some of my protocols, and we're going to fix it. And we're going to take responsibility. We're going to take action. We're going to take ownership for what I do about it. Okay. All right. So instructions, a little more. Ask, are my responses pointing me where I want to be? Okay. So those are the three things you keep in your head every single day, and that will pull you out. Okay. If you can accept it, embrace it, and live it. Okay. There is nothing that you cannot move out of and above. Okay. All right. Prosperity principle number 2. This goes straight together. And these are the only two I'm going to give you. These are the only two you need. Right? One of the things that I'm known for is giving you, I mean, you guys know me right by now. When I talk about the technology, sometimes I get so complex, I can bore university professors to sleep. I've done it. Okay. It's because the technology is complex. But when it comes to sharing yourself with principles, I like to have one or two principles that do so many things. Right? So you don't have to focus on a lot of stuff. You just focus on some basic things. And as you do it, it automatically clears a lot of the debris for you. Okay. These two principles will do that for you. So let me continue. Prosperity principle number 2. You have a purpose. You are important. You are needed. Okay. There was a movie I saw that in recently. What is it? The Help. I think it was, I love that movie. Said to the little girl that the nanny said to the little girl, you're important, you're needed, you're smart, right? Well, you guys are all smart. You're all here, right? But remember this, you have a purpose. You are important. You are needed. You bloom where you are planted. Okay. I want you to take those words right there. I bloom where I am planted. And I want you to stick that in as far as you can to your head, to your soul, and to your heart. And I want you to remind yourself of that every single day. Bloom where you are planted. Begin to act and behave as if your kindness, your wisdom, and your compassion is desperately needed every day where you are. Okay. Now, this may sound a little strange. How does this help restore my prosperity flow? How does this get me out of the crap that I'm in? Believe me, it does. It starts the energy moving. It starts all kinds of things happening. And what it does, you don't have to know your purpose in life right now. Okay. You don't need to know that what your life's purpose is right now. What's important about this is that you begin to act and behave as if your kindness, your wisdom, and your compassion is desperately needed every day where you are, right? As long as you continue to behave and act that way, your life's purpose will come. It will be revealed. Again, here, look, I'm getting ahead of myself. You just have to believe. You just have to know that you have a purpose and begin approaching the world. You got to begin approaching the world from the standpoint that you are needed. And that you are important right here, right now, because believe me, you are. I've never met anybody that isn't important. That includes a guy that got hit, quadriplegic, could barely talk. You know what? It could be, it was a terrible accident. Okay. But through his heart and how other people came in, he changed people's lives. Right? That's a pretty steep self-sacrificing purpose, but nonetheless, I've never met somebody that didn't have a purpose that wasn't important right where they are. Okay. And you need to believe that and live it. So as you begin living this way, your life's purpose will reveal itself. I promise you. Right. I mean, how do you think I got to where I am right now? Like brainwave entrainment, brainwave stimulation. It's not exactly the biggest niche in the world. Okay. It's not like it's, the old business I gave up when I did this, if I had kept that old business, the actual wealth that I have, like monies, numbers, and zeros, that kind of thing, I'd probably be 10 times of what I have now. But it wasn't my life's purpose. Okay. It was all about just making richer people richer, which, didn't really agree with me too much. Okay. And it just didn't, because some of these people were real jerks, in my opinion, right? And as the business grew and we started working, some of the companies were really good. We were the only American company that got a big contract from BBC worldwide. We were rocking, me and my business partner. And then, the stress started coming in, and everything just kind of fell apart. And the way that I got to where I am right now and what I'm doing right now, right? Might be making a lot less money, but I don't care about that. What I care about is I'm living my life's purpose. What I'm doing, and I found that because I asked the question, how am I needed? Where am I needed? What can I do right now? I see some of the comments coming in, folks, and I want to thank you for the support. I'm really staying on point on a message here, but I see them and I love you. Thank you so much for the support. And this, I want you to do this for yourself. Okay. Because, listen, not everybody is meant to be a billionaire. Okay. That's a fact. Okay. It's just not, I know I'm not. It doesn't mean I won't get there. Who knows? It could happen, I guess, but it ain't likely going to happen. Because I'm not inventing a new, a new Microsoft software thing or whatever like that. Those kind of people, those are the guys that get that kind of money, right? But prosperity and abundance is for everybody. It really is. And in order to stand up and take yours and be responsible, you got to, got to own your responses to get there, right? The best way to do that is to figure out who you are. And the best way to do that is just to start with that whole concept of that I have a purpose. I am needed right here, right now. I'm important. And you go out and you start doing stuff. If you don't do it right away, start planning for it. Okay. The easiest way to figure out who you are and what you are here for, terrible English, sorry, is beginning. You guys know, right? Even though I get help with this sometimes, you guys know that I was like learning disabled growing up, and I've learned a lot of stuff, but sometimes my language in terms of the writing gets a little messy, and I don't see it until I actually read it sometimes. But anyway, all right. So you want to, is the best, sorry about that little interruption there. You want to get creative in the way that, the best way you get creative in the way that you can be service to others, right? It's just that simple. Okay. And then you'll figure it out. So here's your instructions for this principle. Every day, ask the following: how can I serve humanity today? How can I be of service to my community? How can I be of service to individuals? What knowledge do I have that could help others? What life experience do I have that could help others? How can I enrich my knowledge to better serve others, right? So sometimes you'll come up with answers, right? You'll come up with answers, but you go, geez, maybe I need to learn a few more things. Okay, that's all right. Right? But you're starting that process, and that's what you want to do. And you'll find out what your life's purpose. And if you have interest in something, there's a billion other people that'll have interest in it too. And you can make a career, you can make a living, you can do something, right? You know, I'm not saying that when you say, how do you serve others? All that stuff is you give it away for free. Well, you can't. Money is something that we all have to contend with, period. Right? Myself included. Right? But what you do is you get into that place where you're passionate and you want to serve humanity. You want to help your fellow man. You want to create for the love of humanity. And I'll tell you, that prosperity flow and that energy, that abundance flow will ramp up. Like I said, I probably don't have anywhere near the amount of actual ones and zeros, right? If I would have kept my previous business. However, my prosperity flow and my abundance flow, the fact that I can live and love my life has never been stronger. And this is what I want for every single one of you. These two principles can help you get there, my friends. Okay. All right. So we're going to get into this spot here where, you know, we're going to do some sort of examples. And here's what I want to do for you. We're going to do a group session. Okay. Where I want to help you, find some triggers or some feelings that we're going to look into this whole concept of what a trigger is and sort of how it builds and how it moves and how many components and that kind of stuff. We're going to do it real quickly. But what I want you to do is, you know, I want you to be aware of these sort of things and how to approach the 10-minute turnaround. Like I said, if there's things that come up in your life, right, that are choking your ability to make good decisions, or they're choking your ability to respond appropriately to life, okay, you want to deal with them. That's why the 10-minute turnaround exists. Well, it's the reason why the trigger eraser, we're going to do 4 10-minute turnaround version 4 packages, right? The reason why trigger eraser was created is because when you feel yourself feeling emotions or getting triggered and you know it is affecting your way to respond to life appropriately, you need to do something about it, right? So that's why trigger eraser is here. So how do you do that? Well, you got to be a detective a little bit, okay? You got to start asking yourself questions. And then you got to write, you know, what I do anyway is I start writing my answers down. And I sort them from big to small. And typically I work on the smallest ones first. And there's many reasons that I ask you to do small ones first, okay? Because sometimes, you know, if you take away enough small ones, right, sometimes what you're doing is you're chipping away at the motor that holds the bricks together, right? And you take away enough of that small stuff, the whole wall comes down, all right? Because the one thing that kind of sucks about the 10-minute turnaround is you kind of got to get associated to the bad feeling for a little bit, right? And who wants to get associated to the real big bad stuff if you don't have to, right? Does it make sense, right? So you go after the small ones a little bit first, and hopefully you break them apart enough where the whole wall comes down. But the other reason why you want to do small ones first is because I'm going to show you a technique. We're going to do a group process here, okay? And it'll make sense. If you get a couple small successes and it starts working for you, you can feel the energy shift in your body, in your brain, in your life, right? The confidence builds and builds and it builds and it builds. And soon you can do a what's called a quick version of this, or a version where you're not even actually watching the passive brain fitness videos, right? You can do a version of this, which we're going to do today, okay, that you can kind of use on demand. Because I mean, I know when I'm traveling, for instance, or whatever, I can't necessarily sit down on a computer. And by the way, the 10-minute turnaround is now about 15 minutes, right? But I love the name so much, I'm keeping it. You can't do it, but you can do some short versions of it, right? Maybe when you don't have access to your computer or the streaming platform or whatever, right? And it only seems to work really well when you get a number of successes in the beginning. And so that's one of the reasons why you want to start small. I know everybody wants to get to the big stuff right away, but there's real good reasons to start small. Okay. And then you book your appointments. You book your appointments with yourself, right? You schedule times to work on it, right? And I've said this so many times, right? You want to schedule appointments to work with yourself and on yourself, because it sends a very powerful message to your brain that you are important, right? It does. And you treat that appointment that you set for yourself like it is the most important appointment in the world. Like if you miss it, you might not be able to get another one. Right. Right. And it sets the whole thing up from a psychological perspective for you to be really effective. So you put it on a calendar at this date and this time, I'm showing up for my appointment. I'm doing my 10-minute turnaround and I've already got the things I'm going to work on. I'm going to knock it out of the park. Right. You want to amp up your results. Booking your appointments and doing that way will blow your mind, right? How much faster and how much better some of this will work. Okay. And then if you can't drill down to something specific, when in doubt, just pick something, pick anything, right? As you start to build, we've seen this on our private and our secret Facebook group. People wrote in, by the way, you wouldn't believe, we've had so much great feedback on the version 4 result in the Facebook group. And some people didn't know what to work on. They just picked on something. They just picked something to work on. And then as they were working on it, other things, showed up, and then they got more clarity. So if you don't know where to start, you just start. Just pick something. All right, I'm going to pause for a second. I see Lisa jumped in here. He said, it said, when booking, how do we get to the real core of feeling bad or triggered? Well, Lisa, you just start somewhere. Pick something, right? The clarity will come, right? And we're going to go through a process of being a detective where you start to look at all the stuffs that are around a trigger. You know when you feel bad, right? We're going to talk about this in just a moment. You'll see how I work through it, right? But when in doubt, just pick something to work on. And, if you've got a lot of bad feelings associated with money, write them down. If you got some triggers that are associated with money, write them down and sort them from big to small. And just like I said, when in doubt, if you don't know how to sort them, just start picking them off one by one. All right. So before we get to the live sessions, before we start talking to people here, and again, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be asking I'm just going to ask people to talk about what they want to work on, and I will see if I can help you drill down on great places to start and maybe help you formulate a plan a little bit. Okay. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I'm just going to invite people to kind of share with me what they're working on, and I'll see if I can help them get focused on it, because that's really the biggest part here. You just got to get used to being that detective with yourself, being that emotional detective. And that's really where the secret sauce is. The rest of the time you do that well, the program and the technique will take care of it. You just kind of have to get used to being that emotional detective of yourself. So before we get started, what I want to do is I want to ramp up the energy a little bit here. Okay. All right. So here, the best thing about being in a group is that we can expand our energy and increase our heart coherence. Love heart math, by the way, right? Lots of studies on this, right? When group dynamics, you can when we all focus together, we can expand our heart coherence, the magnetic waves, and we can share it. We've seen this many times. Groups of people, just by their intent, can change the pH in a water. Cloud busting. I've actually seen this happen with people together in a group that can do it. Slot machines. I meant to take that one out, actually. But anyway, listen, Richard Bandler, one of the creators of NLP, used to do this. He used to get about he found it was like the secret number is you get about 300 people together. They send one person in, right, to the casino play slot machines, and the other 299 people would just simply focus on that person winning, and every time that guy would win, right? And he did it over and over and over and over again. And like I said, somehow he figured out 300 was the right number. But it's so awesome, okay, that we can expand our energy And this is what I want to do. All right. So get ready, folks. I mean, don't do this if you're driving or operating heavy machinery, but, really be with me on this. And so all that quantum stuff we hear about, quantum physics, 0 point energy, intentionality, we can make happen within the context of a group. And that's what we're going to do right now. So before I bring on my first, live person to talk to, let's get in sync. Let's ramp up our heart energy and get some love flowing here. Okay. So together, everybody, just take a couple of deep breaths. Okay. Follow my count. Just hold. That's 1. Exhale. Only do this to the extent that it's comfortable and natural for you. 2. Exhaling. And 3. One more. Excellent. Awesome. All right. So here's what I want you to do. If you can do this, if you're in the safety of your home or wherever, I want you to hold out your hands and I want you to project, hold them out about where your heart is. Okay. And I want you to project a beautiful glowing ball of orange light. Orange light, by the way, has a really, really special spiritual property. Okay. So I can talk to you about that. But for now, project a beautiful glowing ball of orange light that floats and vibrates in between your hands. And then with your intention, I want you to fill it with love energy. And if it changes color from orange, that's perfectly fine. Okay, start doing that now. Just imagine, if you can't see it in your head, that's okay, just pretend. Right, get right in there, project that ball, feel it vibrating between your hands. Feel that energy, feel that love. All right, now, what I want you to do is I want you to multiply it by roughly 1,000. So we had 141 people register. A bunch will do the replay. A lot of people, a couple hundred, let's say, will register after the fact. Okay. So now with that one main ball in your hand, orange, love, vibrating, happy energy ball, I want you to project out in front of you that there's now 1,000 of them. So there's one for every single person that is live on the call and that everyone that will watch the replay. All right. Okay. And then just with your intention, I want you to command that each one of your orange balls of light and love suddenly go out and they land on every other person that's live on this call, and the ones that are not live on this call, they will get their energy balls of love orange when they do the replay. So that means you're going to get 1,000 of them, right? Everybody's going to get 1,000. And I want you to just feel that. Feel that love. Let's get in sync. Expand the heart coherence. Beautiful. Wonderful. Woo. Woo. I feel that. That's awesome. Okay. Wow. Let's enjoy that for a minute. By the way, you can do that anytime you want, eh? Just sit down and think about the people you know, create this little ball of light. Orange has a really great capacity of dispelling negativity. That's why I do orange, but you can do whatever color you want. Cosmic orange, universal orange. Really good at dispelling negativity. You send that out. Okay, Lisa. I know you're in there somewhere. There you are. Okay.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Lisa, wow, I'm so happy you're here with me. Let me tell you.
Oh my gosh, I'm overflowing, Jeff. If we were on video, you see I'm just crying. You are so moving, and everybody on this call is responding in the same way. It's a love fest. It's beautiful.
Wow, yeah, that's great. Like I said, this was not even my schedule to do, right? But I mean, after reading that stuff, Lisa, it just, I had to do it. I had to do this. So, and I love my community. That's just all there is to it. So, do we have some people that have said, hey,
Well, I think we need to give some instruction. I think if you raise your hand, I can then I can make it audio, but you have to raise your hand to allow me to do that. Like William, you had done that at the very beginning. Let me see how it is. A request. It's called a request.
See, we're going to do a lot more of these, folks. I mean, especially for our lifetime master account holders and different things. I mean, I'm going to do these for everybody, right? This is not just, but I want to do more where I can do sessions and I can do group sessions and I can get people involved, right? I really want to. So, but this is our first time. So if we screw this up a little bit, please be patient, but
Especially me as the wingman. I'm not the most tech savvy person ever. But I also am looking here. I think if you just say that you're interested, and then I think I can invite you as a speaker. So, and Jeff, you can just let me know the way you want to go about it.
Well, let's give that a shot. Let's try it with one person that's been, if there's been somebody chomping at the bit here.
Okay. Karen was the very first person. If I think it was Karen early on. Gosh,
I've been wanting to hear Karen's voice for a long time, actually.
Well,
because I don't know. We've had a few chats.
Here we go. Okay, so Karen, I'm going to attempt to do this right now. Let's see. Can you speak, Karen? Oh, I guess we have to make sure they have a microphone and.
Oh, I suppose that would be important, right? Wouldn't it? Yeah.
I've just invited you to speak, Karen. So I forgot that we have to do that too.
That totally slipped my mind, right?
Yeah, me too. Me too.
You got to have a microphone for this to work.
Or an audio, at least. Karen, I'm going to send you back. Just ding me when you get yourself ready. So we can bring you on. So let's try this one. Charlene, let's do this. Charlene, are you there? Now I wonder if I need to do something else, because it's invite as speaker. Wingman.
Like I said,
there should be a microphone. Sorry, there should be a microphone up in the top center of your screen, I think.
Sam says, "Try me, try me."
Okay,
let's try Sam and see if we can get him.
All right.
Oh, Karen says I'm here.
Okay, we got hands everywhere now. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me get back to it. Right. Okay.
Like I said, once we do this once or twice, we're going to get this down pat, right? But there's no way for us to test this actually in the beginning. Right. Certain things you just can't do until you're totally live in the test environment. So we kind of have to just trip all over ourselves until we figure this out.
All right.
Karen, do you got that microphone? Okay, Karen says she's got the microphone. Do you? Okay.
Yeah, but now I can't. I don't see how to invite her as a. Raise your hand, Karen, again, please. I guess because I don't. You don't have the option. I drop down the next Sam. Sam has the option. I'll try this right now.
Okay, try it with Sam.
Sorry, guys. Sam, can you speak? I'm wondering if I need to do something. Let me go in the back room and look at differently here.
Sorry, folks. Right? How are you talking? Maybe you got this going for yourself, Lisa.
Well, I have the admin microphone. I think that's why. So it should.
So I got 4 requests. Let me see if I can do this. I got William here. Let's see if I can do this from my panel here.
Okay.
Invite as a speaker. Okay, so right now I've got 3 people that are showing up. I've got I've got William, Fatu, and Marcia. So William.
Oh, who's that? There was somebody.
All right, I'm going to invite William. William, are you ready to go? I'm going to see if this works.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
You have to go to the top in the center and turn the microphone on.
Oh, so it is the same as mine. Okay. Yep. Okay.
All right.
We might have a lot of people invited here at one time now. So is this Karen?
Or yes, it is.
Karen. Okay. At least we got a place to start, Jeff. I'll mute my microphone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi there, Karen.
Yes. How
So
are you?
oh, I'm fantastic. So nice to hear your voice. I know we've chatted on some support tickets and stuff, and so
Yep.
okay. So how can I help you? What ways do you think I can help you maybe figure out a great way to start to use this whole process? We're going to do a group process in a moment, and I want to have something really great for you to work on.
Okay. I've been reading about, listening to, etc., all sorts of things about law of attraction for a lot of years, and I think I've cleared a lot of stuff. I'm open to receiving. I'm happy. I'm willing to accept. And just as you started this webinar, this thought just popped through my head, and it was that I think that I have to hang back and wait until things are offered to me. It's not okay to ask. So
Ooh.
I could be as happy as I want. I could be as open to receiving as possible. It doesn't matter because I have to wait until somebody says, "Would you like to have this?"
Okay. So, how does that make you feel? That you know that?
Well,
What do you,
it was really exciting because now I found a huge, boulder in the road that is stopping me from receiving or asking or doing the things that I want to do. I've got to wait until somebody says it's okay. Bull crap.
That's right. Bullcrap. That is bullcrap. So Mama always said you can't get what you want if you don't ask. It's one of my favorite expressions from my mother.
Yeah.
So
And
um,
my mom always said, you don't ask, you wait until somebody gives it to you.
yeah, so we could switch expressions for a little bit, and I'll take the one that
Yes.
your mother gave you, and I will shred it into little tiny
Yeah.
pieces, and you can just have the one my mom gave you. All right.
Yes.
So let's think about how we can just eliminate that completely. All right, that whole idea. Okay, so it's attached to a feeling somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's think about the feeling, because what the 10-minute turnaround version 4, the trigger eraser specifically is designed for, is really to work with some of these feelings, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
if we work with some of the feelings that are attached to the beliefs, we can get at the beliefs sort of in the back way. One of the next versions of the 10-minute turnaround version 4 that's coming out is specifically designed to get at the actual beliefs. Okay.
Okay.
So, but you can get at the beliefs anyway through the actual emotion and triggers, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you might want to go that extra step. That's why we're doing another version. But um, so when you think about that, when you think about just sitting there and waiting, how does that make you feel? What is that? It can't feel good, does it?
No, I guess early on it felt um, somehow shaming, and like there was something wrong with me that I shouldn't ask for what I want.
Aha. Okay. Do you see that list, the screen that I just put up there on the webinar?
Yep.
Beliefs and habits of thinking. See that down there? Something is wrong with me.
Yep.
that's this is one of
Yep.
the biggest
I'm
prosperity
not
folk.
enough.
Okay, so because there's not enough in the world, because there's something wrong with me, I'm not allowed to ask.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be offered, right? Because there
Mm-hmm.
isn't enough, and I'm not deserving anyway.
Yep.
All right, okay. So those are some pretty big chunks there, I would
Yep.
think. Okay. So first of all, let's then you brought up the word shame. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's that's a good word, right? Because it really is close to a feeling, it's close to a
Mm-hmm.
sense, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I would work on first. Now, shame is a pretty big, powerful emotion, especially if you get really associated to it. So in this particular sense, what I would do is I would grab a piece of paper, okay, and I would
Mm-hmm.
write down shame at the top, okay, and then below it, I would write down things like something's wrong with me, lack, scarcity, not enough in the world, I'm not good enough, okay, and so I would I would do this whole process, the 10-minute turnaround version 4, 3 times, 3 rounds, with the intent of unlinking it from each of those things. So you got shame, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's attached
Mm-hmm.
to that whole statement that something is wrong with me. It's attached to that statement that there's a lack and a scarcity, and it's attached to that whole feeling that I'm not good enough. And so I would do 3 rounds in total with the intention and all you really got to do is just bring it up. Think about, you do the best you can, you get that feeling of shame going, right? And then say to yourself, it's because something's wrong with me. Okay. I would, by the way, I normally do not, and I think everybody knows this, I do not approve about saying bad stuff about yourself. Normally. The only time that I will allow it, right, is that when we're going to do a process to break the links.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if any of you have taken my All Languages Hypnosis course, you know I beat that horse pretty good. I would never beat a horse, by the way. I love horses. I love animals and my kitties and everything, but you know what I mean? Like I really emphasize it. But when we're in the context of breaking links and disengaging the limbic system, because that's really what this is about, right? It's about not only sending positive messages to the limbic system in association with these things, but it's also about breaking apart the pattern that exists in the physical body as well. Okay?
Right.
So, all right. So that's how I would do. Does that make sense to you?
It sure does.
Do you understand that? Do you understand how you do this? We're going to go do a group process. And so your first round, okay, that we're going to do a group process. Everybody's going to do it together. In the first round, I want you, in your mind, your intention will be something like, my intention is to dissolve shame associated with being not good enough or something's wrong with me.
Okay.
All right. And that would be your main intention. And then the instructions in the group process, I'll bring them up. They're very clear, but there will be a point in time that I'm going to ask you to get associated as you possibly can with that feeling. Okay. And then you're going to do your best to do that. And how you will do that, by the way, is maybe, it sounds like, I mean, a lot of this stuff goes back to the past. I'm sure you know what I mean? Look, most of my stuff that I've worked on over my life all happened when I was young, you know?
Yeah.
Right. I was like, because I had stutters, I couldn't speak very well growing up. I had all kinds of learning problems. I mean, I was bullied like crazy. I ended up learning martial arts, and that was good. But, you know, so I had a lot of stuff that I had to work through. And I think we all do. Most of our crap all comes from our youth, most of it anyway. So what you'll want to do is maybe go back in time, and, you know, maybe your mother said something in such a way to you that made you feel that way, or maybe something else happened, right? So you'll do your best you can. That's how you do it. You sort of scour your memories, to, you know, and if it gets too much, then just tone it down. Just stop a little bit, right? Keep it low. And then as you go through this process, you can amp up the level of, see, that's another way of going slow and starting small, is that you monitor how well and what kind of memories you're going to access, right? At first you start kind of small, and then you amp it up as you get success. Okay.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, big hug to you. Lots of love, Karen. All right. Can't wait to hear how we're going to break this right apart with this group session. You watch. You're going to love it.
Okay.
Okay.
Karen, if you would disconnect your microphone, because I don't know where you are in the thread. And Sam, we're gonna see if we can get you on. And then there's Charlene, Jeff, that have been in line here.
Okay, excellent.
Let's see if we can do this. Okay, Sam, see if you found the microphone above the slides.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Karen. So it should be above on Jeff's screen here. It should be in the center. You see a camera, a slide, and a microphone and screen share. You
know what we got to do, Lisa? This is, something that just came to mind. Yeah. We got to do a little intro about how to do this, so we can teach people how to speak.
We had it down until we realized that they needed microphones. Well, there he is, but he's not. Okay.
No.
Not okay. Sam, you and I will talk offline, see if we can figure it out. And Charlene, I will come down. Let me find you in this. Gosh, it's a little bit difficult. Okay, so here's Charlene. Charlene, now I can't bring you in. Is your mic on?
I just turned it on.
There we go.
Right.
Yay. And
Okay.
Stan, I'll see if I can figure this out. There you go.
Charlene?
Hi, Jeff.
Hi. I know you.
Yes, we talked many years ago about credit cards.
Oh yeah, yeah. Was it like the same thing? Like I got mine stolen, and you got,
Something like that. Yeah, I just remember getting the phone call from you and recognizing the voice before you even said anything, because I've been listening to you in my ears for so long.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, anyway, I don't really know. Well, let me just step back and say, if I start to ramble, just cut me off and say, Charlene, you need to focus.
Okay. The safe word is focus.
Yes.
All right.
Unlike a lot of people, I don't have specific things that I can identify easily. So, but I didn't want to pass up the opportunity to work with you one-on-one. So that's why I'm here. My biggest issue at the moment is just overwhelm, and the feeling of getting up every day and thinking, oh my God, I'm just not going to get through everything I need to do today. And this is just every single day is like this. And of course, I realize that I'm setting myself up for not being able to get through everything that day because I think that. But there are sort of bigger issues that I've been experiencing in my life that have caused this sense of overwhelm. So that's a very brief backgrounder. I don't know how you want to go into this.
Okay. Well, overwhelm is well, let me say this to start off, right? Is that one of the things that I'm seeing a lot more lately is that women are experiencing more overwhelm on average than men. And I'm really working at trying to figure out why that is. And so we can develop a really more of a tailored solution. I was talking to a lot of you guys might know Aram Saeed, and I was talking to her for a little while. She does she runs Heartache to Joy and all kinds of stuff. And we had this big talk about this. And so there's a lot of contributing factors that we know about overwhelm. If you see the screen that I've got up there, chances are you got a whole bunch of these going on here, right? Like maybe not, I'm not saying all of them, but there's probably something, freeze, fight, flight. It's triggered perhaps by a safety and security issue. These patterns can run in either direction, right? You can have all of a sudden something reminds you to feel not worthy, and then you get a fear or an anger and anxiety, and then you freeze or you flight or you fight, and the whole. At the end of the day, what happens is that there's this overwhelming, which is kind of what freeze is, right? To some extent, right? Freeze is sort of that overwhelming feeling where when people are overwhelmed, they can't move, right? They're just frozen. They don't know what to do, or it takes them a long time to shake themselves out of it. Mm-hmm. And so does that sound right to you? You just kind of feel like there's times where you don't want to do anything? Well,
I think I've gotten past the point of being in the flight, fight, or freeze mode. These days, it's just not enough energy to do what I want to do. I mean, I go through in my head every day all the things that I know I need to do, that I can do. And if I lived the life that I have in my head, I would be getting stuff done all the time. But translating that into the real physical world, it's more than I can manage. I was recently in that situation that you were describing that's in the slide, with being married to a man that I have recently meaning in the last couple of years, learned is a narcissist, and realizing that basically, once I realized that, I thought, oh my gosh, okay, well that makes, that was the source of all the problems. That answers everything. Everything now makes sense. In any case, when I've looked at your slide earlier when you were working with Karen, one of the things that I've often found when I've done work with other practitioners, Dawn Clark recently is one that I've been working with.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people have that, the symptoms or the beliefs and habits that you've listed on the left-hand side. And I, unlike a lot of people, had a really decent childhood. My mother was really great. My father was, there were some issues there. But I have very few of those things that you've listed there.
Mm-hmm. Good for
And
you.
the one that does stand out, though, that I can identify is lack and scarcity, not enough in the world. I grew up poor, so that's clearly got something to, is linked in some way to, prosperity and abundance.
Gotcha. I got the picture now. I got it now.
Okay. Bring it on. Explain it to me.
Okay. It's and so some of this comes intuitive, right? From intuitively just having worked with so many people and so on and so forth, right? So yeah, you only need one of these to just screw everything up, I found. And so lack and scarcity, right? Often will trigger people to want to overload themselves with things, right? Because it's all about what often do we learn when it comes to lack and scarcity? How do you succeed? Well, you do it through hard work. You do it by pushing forward. You do it by, right? It's this sort of, what I see and what I think I'm feeling from you is that there's this drive, right? That's powered by lack and scarcity. Right. So it's this whole idea that I'll never be able to get you. Stop me if I'm wrong here. Okay. Is that you might never be able to get where you want to be if you just don't work harder than everybody else. If you don't put your pedal to the metal, if you don't, this kind of stuff am I kind of on the right track here?
I am definitely a driven person, goal oriented. I make my to-do lists, and I think hard work gets rewarded. So yeah. This sounds right.
Okay. So what typically happens, right, when this sort of stuff comes up is that people that have this, that are driven, so there's a lot of things that can drive you, right? And so one of the 10-minute turnaround version 4 releases that's coming out, I think it's going to be in August. We're going to do it. It's a little bit different. It's going to be designed to swap some things out, right? But there is stuff we can work with here, right? People that are driven and it's powered by lack and scarcity, find it very easy to get into overwhelm, right? And so, let's see, what would be a great thing? I'm talking to myself right now. What would be a great thing to start with? All right, let's go right to this scarcity, this lack. When's the first time you were aware, when you were a child, that their money was an issue? You remember?
I do remember one summer picking aluminum cans to return for the, whatever it was, 5 cents or whatever, spending all summer looking for aluminum cans. I was maybe 3rd grade.
Did that cause you? So that was an awareness of scarcity, but was that something that was stressful for you, that it had an emotional, because it didn't sound like it to me.
No, it didn't. Actually, we thought it was a lot of fun. There was going out and walking around and looking in under bushes and things like that. And this was one of the things that I just have to give my mother credit for. We grew up really poor, but she did not attach shame to it. And, I know there was one thing that was shameful. The very brief period we were on food stamps. And it was very clear when we went to the grocery store to check out that was something I was ashamed about.
There we go. And that brings in victim energy too. Okay. Knowing it or not, the really slow, sluggish, muddy victim energy is often attached to that as well. What I find on a spiritual level. So, okay. So I would say let's start there. It was funny. I knew right away when you're talking about looking for cans that wasn't a problem. Because I could hear it in your voice, right? I pick up these little subtleties in people's voices, and I go, wow, All right, so I want you to keep that memory aside, though. Okay, so that memory where you're talking about was really great. You found it fun, right? And looking for cans. I want you to put that memory aside, and we're gonna have I want to promise everyone right here. Okay, we're gonna do more of these. Okay. And so, I obviously I'm not going to get to everybody today, but we're going to do different versions of 10-minute turnarounds for different purposes to get different. And we're going to do more of these. And I want to talk to more people because I know this is going to help a lot. But we're going to keep that memory and we're going to use that for something else a little bit down the road. Okay. So I'm going to invite you to come back when we do another one of these, and we're going to use it for something else. Okay. So just so if in the meantime, I want you to think about that memory and how it was fun and how you enjoyed it. And I want you to do whatever you can inside of your brain to amplify that. And just keep it in a safe place. Keep that energy safe, and we're going to use that later. Okay, not today, but we will use that later. Okay. So for now, what I want you to do when we do this group session, okay, bring in that sort of that shame part, okay, about the food stamp things. See if you can get to that feeling. Go in there, okay, and amp it up, and then later when we're going to replace the whole belief, we're gonna use that other memory that I talked to you about.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to swap it out. But at first, this is what I would start with. And this is, and the other thing that I would do as well, okay, is I would write down on a piece of paper the belief, just write it down, that the fact that you are driven by lack and scarcity.
Okay.
Okay.
Right now. Okay.
And I would do a round or two of the 10 minutes around trigger eraser just based on that. So it's funny, you can use this even though you're not really going to build up a big feeling about it. Okay. And it will help break it apart. Right. So what will happen is that you're going to sort of affirm to yourself almost like a negative EFT statement, right? That before using the process, that lack and scarcity drives me. Okay. And so that's a logical process, right? You've in your brain, you've said these two things belong together, right? And so you work yourself to death essentially, or you plan your life in a sense that you've got too much and you end up overwhelmed. Okay. I bet you if I looked at your schedule, I could probably take half of it off and you'd still live the same life you do. You probably live better, right? I do this with people when I have live clients. I go, show me your to-do list. And I go, oh, come on. What are you doing? Let's prioritize here, and you end up feeling better and you end up doing better. But let's get to the driving force here. Okay. We want to break that logical statement because it's not logical, but in your brain, it's logical. Right.
And, it's so interesting to me that you use the word logic, because that just characterizes me to a T. I am Miss Logic 100%. Things have got to make sense to me for me to be able to move forward with them. If something doesn't make sense, no amount of visualizing or affirmations or whatever, that just all sounds like hooey to me. So when you say logic, I immediately perk up and I think, okay, I can get this.
I get lucky like that with the words, All right. So that's what I would do. We do a couple rounds on that. Okay. On that as well. And what you're going to find is that about the third or fourth round that you do that, you'll as you start to say, I am driven because of our lack and scarcity drives me. Mm-hmm. It's going to start to feel different. And I just want you to pay attention to how that feels different to you every time you do it. Right. And then I believe what will begin to happen after you've done a couple rounds on that is that some other things will begin to pop up. What you do is you just get started, and inevitably the amount of clarity just gets more clear. You just get more clarity. You just get more precise on what to work with. So that's the thing I think a lot of people feel challenging when working with a process is in the beginning, we all feel like we're just kind of stumbling around a little bit. Yeah. Right. But once you get started, right, things really, the fog gets lifted. Right. And then you can really start to direct yourself, but you got to get started. And so again, this is part of the reason why I'm doing this. So get started that way, follow up with me, Charlene. And I think this will lead to something really good for you.
Thank you. And that last thing that you said is absolutely why it's so helpful to be able to talk to you directly about it, because I did feel like I was stumbling around in a fog and I didn't know how to start. And you've just set me, you've put me at the starting line and pointed me in the direction that I need to go. And
woohoo,
priceless. One quick question though,
sure.
Because I remember from your instructions at the last webinar, that we should be waiting a 24-hour period between sessions of the 10-minute turnaround. Is that still the case with the instructions you just gave me to do that?
Listen, okay, only because I know you, right? A little bit, right? And I know you've been with me for a long time. And you're really familiar with my technology. I would say you could probably do a couple, but the reason why I say this is a general rule. It is a general rule. Everybody, you really got to get to learn yourself, right? But you don't want to do too much. And some of the work that we're doing and some of the technology and the frequency stuff that's going on, and by sending signals to the limbic system, by using the eyes and all this other stuff that we're doing, you know, it really does take a night's sleep oftentimes to finish the rewiring process. It's just the way the body works. You know what I mean? You know, new neurotransmitters and new proteins and peptides to rebuild all this stuff and even clean up some of the stuff that you've broken off, because that has to happen, right? It just takes a little bit of time. So it's not so much that you might get a detox reaction. That does happen sometimes, but it's like you just got to give your brain a little time to catch up, right? And so that's. But again, everybody is different, right? And so you know yourself, you monitor it, right? So that you can judge for yourself. But I think you could probably safely do a couple in one day, especially if you're staying in the same ballpark, right? It's really something different. It's a different story if you're saying, okay, I'm going to work on, you know, this fear of getting beat up, you know, by people because I was bullied and all this stuff. And then maybe something having to do with public speaking. You know, there's still fears, there's still things, right? But, you know, they're sort of in different areas. That's right. So if you're keeping in the same ballpark, I think that makes it a little easier to do it multiple times in a day.
Okay, wonderful. I understand. Thank you so much, Jeff.
You're welcome, Charlene.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. We'll talk to you soon then.
Thanks. Please be sure to turn the microphone off too, since I can't find you in here. Jeff, Fatou has been very eager to speak with you.
Well, let's get her on.
Get that on. There you go, Fatou. That should get you there. Can you turn on your speaker? Sorry, your microphone.
If we don't get you, Fatou, I'm going to do another one, and we're going to get this sorted. Right? You know, the more, Lisa, I got to tell you, I don't know if you feel this, right? But have we got her?
That's me.
Okay. As I do this, I'm really beginning to feel inside of my heart how really important this is, the work that this is. Right? Are you getting that sense too?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Right.
And I think the correction for this is easy, just that we let people make sure they test their stuff coming in. I know I had to, and make sure that we can tell people where the microphone is for when we reach out to them.
Okay. So remind me later, we're going to do this. We're going to make a video to show people how to do this. Okay. And then the next time we do these, we're going to be much more successful in terms of getting to people. Is there anybody else that we can talk to, Fatou? I'm sorry we didn't get to you, but we're going to get to you another time, okay?
I'm looking for, hold on one second, for Marcia. Here we go. Okay. Marcia, can you speak? Do you see your microphone icon? I think, you know, I think too, it might be different for different browsers. In the Chrome, absolutely, you have to test to come in, and it's right there in the center above Jeff's slide.
So yeah, usually, from what it's at the very top of your browser. There's at least mine, the way I'm looking at it. There's this thing for a camera. There's a picture icon of a microphone. There's something where you can share your screen, and you know. All that's there. And I think that's what we got to do is you got to click to
speak.
Okay. Well, listen, we'll get this up. We're going to make a video and we're going to get this sorted out so we can help people do this. And we're going to do another one. Okay. We're going to do another one next week. Okay. So I really do apologize that I, didn't get to, because we got to move forward here. I want to do a group process with everybody. You guys are going to love this. This is just fantastic. Okay. So I want you, and then we're going to get some questions. So John's got some questions. Other people got some questions. So let's do this group process and then we'll get into the Q&A. All right. Okay. So this is our group session. And so what I want to do here is I want to, we're going to go step by step here. And so this is an abbreviated process of the 10-minute turnaround version 4, which makes it to a point, makes it so that you don't actually have to watch the videos to do it. Now, on average, it's going to be a lot more effective when you're watching the videos. But this is an abbreviated process that we can do as a group. And the thing is because we're here in a group and we've ramped up our energy and the love is just flowing, you're going to find that this is going to be very healing. And as well, you can do this abbreviated process, this shortened up process for yourself, right? Because you may not be in a position where you can watch the videos and do the whole process in the privacy of your own home. Yet if a feeling comes up, right, that is, that's negative or whatever, and you want to, pardon me, just loosen it up, you can do this abbreviated process. Okay. So, let me just get a glass of water here and we're going to get started. Let me just get another sip of tea here. Someone gave me some great advice after the last webinar. It's lemon tea. Man, it's really helped so far. I got the tickle coming back in my throat a little bit, but that lemon tea has been awesome so far. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Everybody, I gave you some instructions, right? I said, okay, watch video 1 and do that fist pump, right? That yes with your left hand. And by the way, I want to apologize if I messed people up. My camera was flipped, so it looked like I was using my left hand or my right hand when I was saying left, but hopefully you followed my verbal directions. Okay. If not, you just flip it. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is for this process is that you just want to say this: I now command that my body and my mind fully recall and make available the energy and frequencies from video 1 of the 10-minute turnaround version 4 trigger eraser. You want to be really specific. You want to tell your subconscious brain what you want. And so this is a very specific, and you can say I ask. Like I said, I think last webinar I said I've been using I command more recently, and I seem to like it. You can use I ask, but this is the first thing you want to do. So everybody together now, you want to say, I command that my body and my mind fully recall and make available the energy and frequencies from video 1 of the 10-minute turnaround version 4. Okay. Step 2, state the intention that you want to work on. Okay. So hopefully you have a little bit better idea of how, I kind of was a detective on things. If you don't have something really specific, just pick something general. Feeling of overwhelm, feeling of whatever it is. And again, as you start to break these things apart, you'll get more clarity. We all stumble around in the beginning, right? So just pick something to work on, and more clarity will come as is. Step 3, you want to bring up the trigger of the feeling that you want to erase. So this is where we're actually going to start. I'm just going through these slides to jump ahead so you know what's coming, right? Step 4, as you continue, to bring up that feeling, you want to let it build. That's where we're heading with this. So let's go back to step 2. I want everybody to get ready and pick something that you want to weaken, that you want to dissolve completely. Once you have that in your mind, I want you to state it clearly. Okay. Now I want you to get yourself associated with that trigger or the feeling that you want to erase. Okay, this is a part that's not all that pleasant, but very essential. Right? If it starts to get too much, just tone it down. Begin to think about it. Feel your body tense up a little bit. Maybe you notice your breathing is a little tighter, right? So you get really nice and associated with that. Let it build in your body. Okay, step 4. As you continue to let it build, I want you to just pretend in your brain, you can do it with your eyes closed, that you started video 1, and I want you to picture the video in your mind. If you don't know how to picture, you don't know how to visualize, that's fine. Just imagine that, just pretend that you just started the video. Using your left hand as you continue to have that feeling, using your left hand, do that fist pump as I showed you 3 times. So what you're going to do, that feeling is up, right? And I want you to go, yes, yes, yes. So do that now. Then I want you to relax. Whew, shake it out a little bit, get loose. Take a couple deep breaths, okay? Okay, let's get right back into it. I want you to bring up that feeling of that trigger that you want to erase. You know, Charlene, we were talking to Charlene, there was a logical structure in your brain. You wanted to break that out, break that apart. You can do that too. I want you to think about it. I want you to think about the trouble it's caused you in your life. I want you to think about how crappy it's been that you've had this, and that it's time that you want to respond. You want to start responding in a different way, in a way that'll get you to where you want to go. You know, you can even get a little bit angry about this if this has been with you for so long. Think about that feeling and or trigger that you want to erase. Let that feeling build. Build it, build it, build it. It might be a little harder the second time around, but let it build. Notice how your breathing is changing. Notice how maybe there's tension in your body. That's okay. You want the feeling to get into your body, okay? Because it's a mental and a body thing, okay? And even if you're only able to do it a little bit, it works. A little bit will work. You just do it again and again, okay? All right, step 8, using your left hand. I want you to do the fist pump as I showed you 3 times, okay? So start, yes, yes, yes. Okay, so you know you're doing that fist pump, that authoritative movement, right? So we're breaking it apart in your body. We're breaking it apart in your brain and your neurology, the connections, all right? And we've already asked that you receive all the energy and all the frequencies. So the reason why I had you do this fist pump, you know this, right? It's called an anchor. In NLP, that's what we call it, as an anchor. So while you were watching the video, right, you did this movement, and it reminds your brain and your body to recall the frequencies and all the positive energy that's associated with that video. Okay, so that's why we're doing this. Okay, so now take a deep breath. Shake it off, relax, loose, shake your arms out, maybe wiggle your legs a little bit. Okay. Excellent. Okay, we're going to do it one more time. Think about that feeling or the trigger that you want to erase. Let that feeling build again. And if it's getting harder, that's good, right? So work at it. Get it in your body. Get it in your brain. Okay, this is our last round using the energy from the video 1. Right, so really get to it. Get that feeling going. Get that tension. Right. Again, if it's too much, stop. Right, but and even if you can do it a little bit, that's okay. Even just the intention in doing this is going to break it apart a little bit, right? So don't be hard on yourself. The more you get used to this process, some people have told me, you know, heck, Jeff, I have a hard time bringing the feeling in. That's okay. Practice. The more you practice, the better you'll do at it. And it doesn't even really matter. The whole action of making the effort actually starts to run the program, and we are going to start to break apart the program. So that's okay, right? So just get it going the best you can. All right. Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay, here we go. Using your left hand, do that fist pump as I showed you 3 times. Right now. Yes. 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 Woo. It's got to be 90 degrees in my office right now. All right, take a deep breath. Shake it off. Get loose. Okay. Really good. Whew. Now, you know, I mean, we're walking you through this for the first time. You can do this yourself at home. You can do this on demand. Okay. Use the videos whenever you can, but if you need to use this abbreviated process, this will work as well. Okay. Step 14, we're going to do the other side. Now, remember I asked you there's two videos, right? So now you say, let's start again. I now command that my body and my mind fully recall and make available the energy and frequencies from video 2 of the TA version 4, the 10-minute turnaround version 4 trigger eraser. You'd be very specific. So make that intention right now, everybody. And believe it'll happen. Believe it'll be that we anchored it. You did it. Your brain, your body remembers. So just call it and be authoritative. I command it now that it happens. Okay. So now bring up the trigger and or the feeling that you want to erase completely. Let it build in your body just a little bit. Okay. Then with your right hand, right, as you let it build, pretend you just started video 1 in your mind. Sorry. Right. Now using your right hand, I want you to do that fist pump as I showed you 3 times, right? So you go, yes, yes, yes. Get authoritative physically, right? We're disrupting the signals right now. Okay, relax, take a deep breath, shake it off. Whew. Wonderful, wonderful. Some of you might start to feel a little odd. Okay. And that's very common. Even if you had trouble bringing up the feeling in the first place, you might start to feel a little weird. And that's okay. That means something is changing. Some of you might start to feel lighter and lighter and lighter. Some of you may have a harder time bringing this up as you go. That means it's working. Okay. Think about that feeling or the trigger that you want to erase. Let the feeling build it up as high as you can. Right? We've got the energies from the video 2, which is the grounding. Remember the statement, I bloom where I'm planted. I am free. Remember those affirmations? That's available to you right now. Okay, using your right hand, do the fist pump as I showed you 3 times. Yes, yes, yes. Whew. Okay. Relax, take a deep breath. Shake it off, get loose. Okay, last step. Almost last step. Think about the feeling and the trigger you want to erase. Build it up as best you can. Okay. Make the pictures in your head. Put yourself where you were at the time, the origin of the feeling, or build out that sequence of things that you want to break apart. Remember we were talking with Charlene? This equals that. Doesn't have to equal that, right? Bring that to mind if you have one of those false equivalents. Okay, bring that up into your mind. Okay, using your right hand, do that fist pump 3 more times. Yes, yes, yes. Whew. Okay, really good, folks. Relax, take a deep breath, shake it off. Okay. Really good, everyone. So here's what I want to talk to you about real quickly. When you watch those videos in the beginning and you did those fist pumps, you're creating a neurological anchor. Okay. That anchor, now that we've used it, should be strengthened again. Okay. So I really do recommend that you use the process as I've showed you in the instructions, right? The whole full length process where you're doing your little crazy dance in the middle and all this other stuff. This is a different version of the process. When you do this version of the process once or twice, you want to make sure that you go and recharge those anchors, right? By watching those videos and doing the fist pump, right? You want to recharge those anchors so that energy is with you. Because every time we use that anchor to help break apart something, the strength of that anchor diminishes somewhat neurologically. You may not be able to feel it, right? You may not be able to see it or feel it, but it does. Right? So you might want to make sure you recharge that fist pump, okay, once you use this a couple times. All right? Okay, let's move forward.